Welcome to my Creative Corner 3, a podcast about my creative journey and life in a northern town. My name is Vicki. This week I wanted to talk about what I've been working on, of lots of different things. I have really been spending time in the evenings working on a knit shawl using a pattern I found out on YouTube called the easiest shawl pattern ever. It really is an increase. You knit the row, you turn your work, you increase, and you knit a row. And it gradually increases in size. I am using a black bamboo pop. That is the first segment. And when I got to the end, I realized, well, I only had one skein and it wasn't big enough. So while I was in Virginia Beach, I stopped at a upscale yarn shop called The Yarn Shop. I went in and they had the most divine yarn I've ever seen. I've been in just a couple of yarn shops in Michigan, and they have some really beautiful imported fabric or yarns. You can tell that I'm a quilter. Yarns, and I don't get there very often. They're all at least 70 miles from my house. So I do order things occasionally, and I've last year had the Yarn of the Month Club that just ended, and I still have about 8 projects to do. So this Bolly Pop came out of one of the kits, but I hated the pattern, and the complementing yarn that came with it didn't go together in my opinion. While I was in there, they did not carry any more of the black, but I found a rack of DK yarn, and it's all the same weight, but it's made out of wool and a blend of some other fibers. And the company is called Three Irish Girls. Well, I am an Irish girl, and I thought, wow, this must be serendipity. All of the other yarns in the shop were beautiful, and I saw lots and lots of different textures and tweeds and sails and self-striping. But what got me was this was a little collection of hand-dyed yarn in all different colors. I chose the 4 shades of teal to go with the black. And it's making an ombre effect stripe at the top of the shawl. And when I finish, I do believe that it will be big enough to serve my purposes. Otherwise, I may have to order another black Bolly Pop. Bamboo pop. But overall, this is turning out to be one of the easiest garter stitch projects, but it really doesn't overwhelm the beauty of these hand-dyed yarns. I would totally recommend buying them. They are pricey. It was $30 for the 4 teals and the little collection, and they had luscious collections of all different colors. It totally appealed to the quilter in me. While I was at the yarn shop, I found that the people who were in it were very friendly, very nice. And what I found so sweet is they had open time for knitting, sit and knit type of thing. And all of the people in this military town who were in that sit and knit had UK accents. I thought that was fabulous. I felt that I was in this most exotic place buying this exotic Irish yarn, and I just was transported back to my one and only huge vacation out of the country, where we went to Scotland. And I did not buy yarn when I was in Scotland, but I sure touched tons of it. However, I did buy some fabric. That's another story. So the yarn turned out to be a great addition to my shawl. I still have different kits that they have suggested patterns in them, but you're not limited to that. And in fact, I've been doing a lot of garter stitch because I've been listening to Craftish by Vicki Howell, and she is a knit and crochet person as well as other creative endeavors, but she really is talking about how garter stitch she feels looks very modern, and I couldn't agree with her more. It really does give a modern touch to everything, and it's my kind of knitting. It's sit in the evening when the lighting is poor. I don't have to count stitches. I don't have to cable. I don't have to, it's just nice TV watching, football watching projects that I can pick up and put down. And I'll say I did take this shawl on an airplane on short circular needles with a plastic that hooks the two knitting needles together, and they did not give me any problems. So that's my knitting update. I haven't been doing much in other non-quilting things. I really kind of put Zentangle down. I was very sad over this last week. Our group has not grown beyond 3 people. And it was decided between the Arts Council, who has been just lovely people in letting us use the building, that they needed it for when our meeting was scheduled, and that we just basically put it on hiatus for the winter. And I really don't think that come spring we'll even restart it. So that was a very sad thing for me, because I really, really wanted it to grow and become this vibrant community of people seeing each other face to face. But again, I'm running into, I can find the community online, but there is not enough people who will gather in our area. I'm doing it in the evening after work. I thought, well, maybe on Saturdays, but that run into everybody's traveling. And the bottom line is, until I retire, the people who gather and do clubs and different kinds of things are retirees, and it's during the daytime hours. The other problem is the Zentangle lady said that she's doing all kinds of classes and no one's signing up. Well, go figure. My beginning quilt class, after all of the interest that the quilt shop, which is only 4 doors down from my house, nobody signed up for it. So I have a quilt top down there that I'm going to bring home, and it's a sampler, snowball, red, white, and black, with the snowballs connecting all the different sample blocks. And I'll have a picture of that on my show notes on my blog. I'll add to it, make it a little bit bigger, and maybe someday somebody will want to take a class. But I'm finding that it's just not happening here in my town, in my little town. And teaching, I love to teach, and I've had some experience doing that before. Parts of my job is teaching, part of, my personal life in the past has been teaching, but maybe really it needs to be a different approach. So I'm giving up that beginning class idea. First of the year, I may still talk to the quilt shop owner about trying to have young sewers and wannabe quilters come in more of a club style format. So that's something in the future. And it may or may not ever grow, because I'm not sure if she can just allow like a 2-hour block of time for me to gather with beginning sewers without charging them money for like a lesson. So I don't know. That's something still in the works. And if you have any ideas about that, please let me know. I want to keep the cost down so people will come. But at the same time, I feel like if people pay a little bit of money, there's a commitment to come and basically finish what you start. So what have I been quilting? Well, I have been working on a courtyard tile quilt. I started a new one because I couldn't figure out what to do with my collection of Tula Pink 100 of the little 6.5-inch city sampler block. They're sitting in my drawer waiting for the perfect fabric. I've also finished the Pat Sloan block of the month. No, I can't find the perfect fabric that I want to use to sash it. It's a beautiful Secret Garden. Her patterns are lovely, and I picked a collection that was Thank You from Quilt Maker, and it just is a gorgeous modern watercolor teals and oranges and corals. And so they're languishing while I'm finding and looking for the perfect fabric. So the Tula Pink Courtyard Tiles is something that is inspired by a pattern I saw that on Craftsy with the same name. You can buy the pattern there, and it's a lovely, lovely interlocking pattern. But when I looked at it, it's a blank square of fabric, blank meaning no piecing, and then the next square is a 8-pointed star, all in white. and the corners are white. And what normally in a traditional block negative space is the brightly colored fabric of the quote tile that you connect to the unpieced square. You have to do careful placement of these little bright colors in your white star block because that's what makes it a tile. It has four illusion that it's a circular piece coming off like a knob, and they interlock on a diagonal, and the illusion is all there. This is what I call, Francis on the Off Kilter Quilt podcast, derivative work, and I love that title, so I will take that. Also, it is a derivative work. I resized this to 10.5 inches to preserve the large print of these Tula Pink Eden fabrics. They have very large tigers and elephants and wonderful Moroccan Zentangle style. And I thought this tile block gave it an exotic look with all of these. I also threw in a couple of other Tula Pink fat quarters that I picked up along the way. And overall, I think it's going to be exactly what I was looking to make with this fabric. It's going to have the great bold prints that are not chopped up into tiny pieces. However, I've seen this line done with fabulous small pieces, and they make great kaleidoscope illusions. But I bought this collection because I loved Tula's artwork and I didn't want to cut through the main focal points of the fabric. So this was exactly what I was looking for when I was inspired by it. It's derivative work because I think the blocks online look like they're much smaller, and also, it really was a public domain block. I just was inspired by her unique choices of color. So I drafted it out in my electric quilter and I made my derivative work. I'm going to try to see if I have enough of this fabric to make it a 70 by 80 or even 90, but it's probably more like 70 by 80. It may not. It may wind up being smaller. I'm just going to go as far as I can with the fabric on hand, and then I'm not going to put any border on it, and it's going to have a white binding. It does bring up some ideas, about public domain blocks, things I call public domain, that they've been around for over 100 years, and derivative work. My thought is when you look at a pattern and it's made very simply with a block that's been around for over 100 years, I don't feel bad about redrafting it on my computer with the tools I have and the fabrics and the sizing I need. It's not like, I feel like this was not a copyrighted type of idea. I mean, this has been around for over 100 years, and it was just an eye-catching, beautiful quilt that I saw on Instagram, and that's why I have all these people on Instagram. I love looking at the eye candy and being inspired. Most of the time, my inspiration comes from seeing a picture or a quilt at our little quilt group, and that's what spurs me on to try new things. So if you want the math all done and you want to be able to support someone on Craftsy, go ahead and buy her pattern. She looks like a nice person, and I don't know really who she is, but overall, it was a great idea, but it was an old block. So your thoughts on that? I know it's a topic of big debate, but my thought about copyrighted patterns are, I can do lots of things that are already preloaded in Electric Quilter and preloaded in my brain from experience. And if it's not a new or unique type of block or using a tool, that's the only way you can use it. I guess I don't see the problem with it. So I'm sure that will spark some conversation, but I'm okay with that because I think it's a topic that's very real and very relevant. And if I'm wrong, then I will be the first one to stand up in line and say I will stand corrected. But I take this as derivative work. So what else have I been working on? Well, I got back from visiting the grandbabies and my daughter, and I had a stack of customer quilts, and I have worked on them. The nice thing is the several in a row are just plain work. Their holiday gifts, they wanted straight line quilting or stippling, which is just what I needed. Coming back from vacation and not having really heavily because stressful is a word that I would say happens to me a lot for custom quilting on work. I mean, sometimes people who really enjoy my long arming will say, work your magic on it. And so you feel like there's this pressure to deliver some magical thing, some great new, fresh idea with patterns and stitches you've never done before. And remember, I do free motion. I don't do a lot of marking on my quilts because I just haven't evolved to that. You know, I think of it and then I just draw it out with long arm, but sometimes there's nothing like just relaxing and stippling a queen size quilt that's going to a young person who wouldn't appreciate all that quilting, and they're just gonna take it as grandma's gift and use it and love it and wash it a million times, and it just, her piecing is what's highlighted on the quilt. So I've done several of those. Now the next quilt is kind of, I've been putting it off. Actually, I have two, and I have more coming. Is one of my dear friends introduced me to her best friend, who was also her best quilting friend. And she died in a car accident over a year ago. And we're slowly going through all of the tops that she had done and never were finished. Oh my gosh, it's just, it's really just kind of makes me feel sick in the pit of my stomach. I've driven by the spot where she died and it makes me emotional. My friend still gets emotional talking about losing her best quilting friend. And so I pull out her work and I see her. I see her smile. I see everything about her, her style. And so sometimes it's hard to do things for people who are gone. And what I'm going to do is these are, again, going to her adult children, and they're not going to be heavily custom work. Maybe just a stipple or some swirls, because these are going to be, again, quilts that will go to people who just want mom's quilts done. So those are the next two. And then I have a shop sample that I need to finish. For that one is going to be more custom work to help. I'm going to do it really more to have my name on the shop sample for a different quilt shop that is about 75 miles from here, and have my name on it for advertising, and also have a beautiful quilt for the quilt shop. So those are my quilting plans. And so with all that going on, I had to start the Tula Pink one because I didn't know what to do to finish up the other ones. I do have a couple of other ideas that I want to work on as we go. One is the Mod Podge with the quick curve ruler. I'm putting that off after the holiday. Equilateral triangle ruler. Now putting that off till later if I ever try it again. It's not going to be the bordered ones. Jaybird Quilts has a beautiful, beautiful quilt made out of that, but and I have the pattern and I followed all of her instructions, but I just found it too fiddly for my brain right now. That's just something, it's just difficult. But I absolutely love her Sidekick ruler patterns. I really recommend them. And my goal is someday to make her, I think it's called Night Sky pattern. I like that one and I may try it, but who knows. Lots of fabrics out there in the world, but I'm exercising a lot of restraint, using up what I have here, which isn't tons and tons of yardage. That's why I'm not finishing, because I don't have a lot of big yardage on hand, because my idea now is different from when I started, is that when I want to make something, I'm going to go buy it or find or locally sourced, maybe through friends' Goodwill or the quilt shop. And then if I can't find what I'm looking for, I'll go online and buy it. Not having these aging fabrics that are rotting in drawers. So I actually have an IKEA shelf with bins. That's how I store my fabric. It's not sorted. My creative area is a mess. It has a actual tool bench in it that holds all my gizmos and gadgets, and the pegboard has all my rulers on it, and I have lots of fabric piles really all throughout the room. The rest of my house, I try to keep it somewhat tidy, but I have quilting stuff everywhere, and I've probably told you that before. I sew at the dining room table, and my long arm up in my bedroom. So yeah, that's my house. It's a creative, slightly, I don't want to say messy, but we call it lived-in look, and we like it that way. Well, this week I had my biannual checkup at my doctor's and got the shock of my life. Actually, my blood work did not come back great for metabolic things. At this point, it's a diet and exercise jump start kick in the butt. I actually had to start some medication for blood pressure because I was falling for no reason. I have a middle ear problem, and this seems to have stopped that. So all of that personal divulging of boring health information to say, I've been very inspired by quilters like Krista Watson, who are putting their health journey on some of their posts, and that's what my doctor is encouraging me to do, as well as eating better. And I've had health problems, minor irritating health problems my whole life. So as a healthcare person, I know better, and yet it's easy to say and hard to do. Sometimes, we struggle just like everybody else. So this is a time of year where we go to the gym more often, and my goal is to go over 3 hours a week, with a goal suggested by my internist of 5 hours a week to lose the large amount of weight that I need to lose. I am not doing weightlifting. I was doing half of my workout with moderate weights and then a 30-minute cardio workout. So I'm dropping the weights for now. He wants me to strictly go with cardio, and we're looking at a different gym that will have a lot more cardiac machines to kind of change it up. But currently I'm up to about 55 minutes where I can switch off between a treadmill for a half hour and a recumbent bike, which does cause me some back and hip pain, for about 20 minutes, and then I'm building up the elliptical trainer. Currently, I'm only at about 7 minutes, maybe 10 some days, but I'm working on it. I want to try to get to where I can do a full hour of cardio and then start really pushing the intensity to bring my blood sugars down and to be healthy. You turn 50, and this is one of those, pivotal moments where you realize, hey, I got to work really hard at this, because I've gone from being sedentary to, something that's going around on the internet about our current culture. I'm practically immobile. I'm not really encouraged to get up and walk around at work anymore. I have to sit at a computer station and talk to people and use the phone and email. And so getting up and moving throughout the day, unlike times when I had very active jobs, that doesn't burn calories at all. I'm also finding that I'm doing pretty good at yard work and mowing the lawns over the summer and the fall, and the lawn front and back. I say lawns because it's like two different areas. And today I spent time raking leaves, and I'm going to post a picture. I have a backyard yet, and I can't do that one on my own, but the leaves were light, dry, and fluffy. So I raked the front yard, and I got my hour of cardio in. I'm telling you what, I was really, really spent after all of that work. And I feel like I did probably just as hard a workout, or harder, than I would have at the gym. And I feel good. Been eating better. Lost 5 pounds this week. That's probably mostly water weight and bloat from poor eating. And overall, I'm hoping that this can continue, because I can't continue on the path I was, because I would have had metabolic syndrome and heart disease and all that, which are probably already in their early phases. So if you're, a fellow person who has been with struggling, we'll just try to support each other. I'm really, really trying very hard, and sometimes it doesn't pay off, and I have to really work hard for a month to even lose 1 pound. That's just because I have terrible metabolism and all that. So we're all in this together. And speaking of we're all in this together, Today is Veterans Day, and I'm going to post this probably next week, but I do want to thank everyone who has served in our military. I am here in the United States, but I think it's very important that we thank everyone who has stood up for what they believe in. Veterans Day happens to commemorate veterans who have served in our country, is why I have the day off of work. But I think also it's a time where we need to reflect on personal thoughts about this last week. You know, I'm not going to talk politics, but it was our election here in America, and it brought out some interesting things on social media that I have chosen not to even go look at. I've turned the news off because really all I have to say is everyone, and happens to be, you know, this entire world, we're all in this together. Our country just needs to have some time to calm down, I think, take a deep breath and realize we're all in this together. And so the sun rose and set every day this week, like it always does. And I'm looking forward to the large supermoon this weekend. The weather's clear. I'm on call and working over the weekend, but I do have some time to myself. And this is going to be a time of really looking at what I need to do to try to give back to this community, because I live in a great place and I really feel in my heart that I need to do something to give back even more than what I consider my usual normal thing. So anyway, that's my thought on Veterans Day. So it's been beautiful weather over the last couple of weeks. We've had an extended fall, unseasonably warm weather in the 60s. We've had one or two 70-degree days over the last couple of weeks, dropping down into the 50s. It's been sunny, it's been dry, and wow, it's one of those Novembers that I don't remember happening very often. In fact, last weekend, we went to the Battle of the Valleys, they call it, for the college my son goes to, with another college that also has Valley in its name. And his school is actually going to the playoffs. So the family is going to go to Detroit, where they're playing Wayne State. Grand Valley is playing Wayne State, and I'm sure they're going to do very well in the playoffs. So we sat at a football game last weekend. It was 70 degrees, no jacket. I had a scarf on because I didn't wear sunscreen and I didn't want my neck to get sunburned, and it was fabulous. It's going to be fabulous again this weekend. So football is big in our house, and I am the biggest football fan of everyone. So I will be watching the Twitter feed for the scores, and the big colleges have primetime football games. Since I'm having to be close to home to answer on-call stuff, I'll be really in my element. I'm going to also be doing a lot of other handwork and sewing and long arming and stuff as I can over the weekend. But all of this beautiful weather has got me to be outside a little bit more and enjoying what we have. It's getting dark early. We all did the time change, and so it starts getting dark here between 5 and 6. It'll start getting dark between 3 and 4 in December, but you know, the days do start getting longer by 30 minutes. I think 30 seconds or 5 minutes starting at the end of December and into January. So I missed the one snow that happened. It was while I was in Virginia visiting my daughter, and so I am thrilled that we have had this beautiful, beautiful weather. No complaining about it right now. And I also am reclaiming my hours of free time at home, since I don't have to do a 2-hour-a-day commute a couple of times a week anymore. I've located all my work in the county, and so far all of my work is within 2 miles of my house. I really feel productive and that I'm getting a lot done outside of my day job, but I'm also feeling not so tired from all the commuting and getting a lot more done there too. So organization feels like it's coming back. Maybe it'll inspire me to organize some of my creative endeavors in my sewing room just off the dining room. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm just going to shut the door and put things in tubs and totes and put them in the closet. I work more creatively that way. I can't do clean surfaces in my creative space with no little piles of fabric and yarns and knitting needles and things all over and patterns hanging on I put them on magnets on my tool bench. And yeah, that's how I do it. Are you a real clean, organized, everything has to be 100% in order? Or are you more on the messy side like me? I feel more inspired that way, but it also makes it difficult to dust. So anyway, I want to thank everyone who's been supportive of this podcast, and I wanted to thank Francis and Jay for commenting on my show notes last week. I'd like to also thank my mom for being so supportive with her comments, and I also want to give a shout out to a young lady who is trying to get a crochet business off the ground. She has an Etsy shop and she's testing patterns, and her Etsy shop is Crochet by Renee. Lovely young lady who's working her way through college. And if you have any needs for crocheted hats, scarves, or other projects, she really is quite talented, and I would encourage you to go. And at some point, she will be selling some of her own original patterns. And she is a young lady who is very creative, and I just really enjoy her work. In fact, I'm going to test her Huron beanie, which is based as a hat, a winter hat for Michigan. And Lake Huron is what inspired her work. Overall, I wanted to end with I tackled all my applique projects, and I did my applique test pattern for Quiltmaker 100 magazine, and I also did the applique for my quote group. It was 3 blocks that are layered roses. So you cut a large, pretty modern rose out. It's flat, and you put a second layer on top with different petal shape, and then you put a third one on top of that. It was all raw edge applique. It has a leaf on a yellow background, and we're supposed to quarter these blocks up. Then you mix them all up, and then you resew them together. Now, this is a block lottery. I'm not sure if everyone's going to have theirs done for our meeting on Tuesday. However, I am one of the few people who have not won a block lottery. And once you have won, you take your name out of the hat until everyone in the group has won. So I'm probably by default maybe getting this one without any luck, because I have not won one. And the other block lottery we did a few months ago was a spool along that was online, and I went to start making that, and the patterns have been taken down. Oh my gosh, that is all over the internet. It's all over Pinterest. Beautiful. I could redraft it, but bless the wonderful soul of my friend Alice. She printed them and saved them in her craft room. And so probably after the holidays, I will take those patterns. We're going to put them in a folder so they don't get lost, and I'm going to make the spool along. Yet again, another project I wanted. So word to the wise is, if you ever find something that is a block of the month or something that is a free tutorial, you might want to download and save it, because it is something that may not be up forever. And on a technology note, I had the Note 7. I absolutely loved the Galaxy Note 7 phone. It was a large phone tablet hybrid, and they assured me that it was not of the kind that was recalled. Well, sure enough, before I took my flight, it was recalled. I got the new phone, the S7, and I'll have to say it's really great. The camera on it is wonderful. I do have a pen with the capability to use a stylus, and I am surviving turning that in and going back to the S7. I'm an Android person, and it's worked well for me. So overall, on the technology end, I'm figuring things out more. I'm using the programs to edit my podcast, and I want to thank everyone for putting up with, some things that I'm learning I need to get better at. the last podcast with some of the editing, I think made for some unusual speech patterns, and I clipped, I think, with editing some of the words and silences. So I'm learning. It's all about the journey on technology also. So I want to thank everyone for listening, and I want to wish all of the veterans a happy Veterans Day. And I want to encourage everyone to continue down a wonderful road on their quilting journey. Thanks. Leave a comment so we can continue the conversation online. And until next time, have a great day.